Have I met any of you before in schools? Year 8, year 9, year 10? Hands up if you have. Okay. What were we talking about? Right. And did you pick up on languages? Did you do languages at school? Who did? Who did French, German, Spanish, Italian at school at GCSE? Okay, a few of you. How many of you doing at A level? Okay, great, terrific. Now, Luke has kindly invited me to talk today about the whole global situation and where young people fit in. And I've just returned from South Wales last night. Last week I was in 9 schools in South Wales talking to year 9s specifically about the power of becoming great communicators in the world. Now, what we have, and Luke has mentioned about 30 minutes to have a little chat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about 2 maps specifically. A map of the world that I've been operating in for the last 35 years, and a map of the world that young people of your age are going to be operating in as we go forward. And the maps are not the same. The planet is still going around the sun, as it's always done, but the maps look slightly different. And this map that I want to show you at the end of the presentation was created by the Japanese. My next target market for business is Japan, and I went to a Welsh Government trade mission conference about 18 months ago where the Japanese trade minister was the guest speaker, and after he finished his talk I went to him and said, "Excuse me, Mr. Japanese trade minister, can I have your presentation please?" And he asked me why, and I said, because I want to take it across Wales and show year 9s, because it's the kind of map that you don't see in a geography class, you don't see in a history class, and you don't see in a language class. So basically, it's the map of how things are happening collaboratively around the world. Now, the word collaborative, and this is one of the key words that I'm going to be using today, I was using yesterday in a school where you had 3 Erasmus teachers. Do you all know what Erasmus is? Who knows what Erasmus is? Okay, well, Luke and his team will tell you all about it afterwards. I was in a school yesterday and there were 3 teachers, 1 from Poland and 2 from Spain, that were here in Wales, all expenses paid, funded by the European Union, observing what was going on in a Welsh school. So they're teachers updating their skills by picking the brains of the Welsh, okay? And what's tending to happen across Europe right now with the exchanges that are available is that different countries are picking the brains of other countries so that they can take good practice back to where they come from and then start using it themselves, this collaboration. So en français, c'est collaboration, and in Spanish, anybody doing Spanish here? Any Spanish students? Colaboración. Yeah, so you've actually got the same word in the 3 languages. And what I did yesterday was I sent the teacher out of the room. I told the children what we were going to be talking about. Then I brought the teacher back in the room, and then spontaneously we did a little session in French. So she's Spanish doing French with an English guy, and we had a lovely conversation, and the pupils all got pretty happy to see something that was happening real live collaboration between different nations. And this has always been something that I've always found very exciting about life, is that you can work with these different countries and different people from different parts of the world. But because Wales has a problem with young people not picking GCSE, French, German, Spanish communication, it means that Wales now has a bit of a problem because the Welsh government think that Welsh young people are looking inwards as opposed to looking outwards. And one of the things that I think is important is that year 9 get information so that when they start to think about their GCSE options, they can start thinking about them with the right context of where they sit in the globe. So what I tend to do with year 9s, I tend to ask them about where they're born. And if I'm in a class, if I'm doing 2 classes, the first class I say, "Where were you born?" And they say, "Prince of Wales Hospital in down in the Cardiff area near Barry," okay? And I say to them, "Did you realise that the Prince of Wales Hospital is the gateway to the world? Did you realise where you were born is your gateway to the world?" And of course, one of the problems in Wales sometimes is that people that live in rural areas or small areas don't see it that way. they think I was born in Wrexham Milo Hospital, I'm supposed to spend the rest of my life hanging around Wrexham. Okay? And the example I've been using is that the new lifeguard at Total Fitness in Wrexham is Spanish. She's 27 years of age. She speaks Spanish, obviously, and English. And the reason she has the job in Total Fitness is because her boyfriend studies economics at Glyndŵr, and she wanted to join him. So what I say to the young people is that, amazingly, for someone like me who was born when Winston Churchill was the Prime Minister, that's how old I am, because Winston Churchill's been dead for 50 years. So if I was born when he was Prime Minister, I'm really old. Amazingly, what she did in Spain was, with a piece of plastic like this, nobody wanders around with an old BlackBerry like me. Most of the kids are saying, is that what you wander around with, sir? It's a bit out of date, isn't it? The only other person I know that has a BlackBerry like this is David Cameron. And as he's yesterday's man, it's not a good sign. Yeah? But anyway, this piece of plastic, as I say to the children, if it flashes red, it means that I'm doing business in one of the 16 countries that I'm currently operating in, even though I'm stood here in Llandudno. Now, for somebody born when Winston Churchill was the Prime Minister, this is kind of magic, because it's not even plugged in. So what I don't understand is how this piece of plastic connects me with 16 countries, and it's not even plugged in. Amazing. I'm still mystified as to how it works. But the reason why the young lady from Spain has the job at Total Fitness is because she typed into Google, fitness, Wrexham, and up popped the job at Total Fitness. So she applied for the job, and because she was way overqualified, she got the job. Now, what I say to the young people is this. If you're looking to compete in the world of work, it used to be 50 years ago that the only people that would know about the job at Total Fitness would be the local people, because the only way that it was advertised was through a local newspaper. And of course, today, because of this digitalization, everybody knows what's going on everywhere. Consequently, for young people, you are in a much more challenging position and competitive world than I was born into, because everybody around the world knows what's going on. So it could be that those Wrexham-based people who went for the job could feel a bit disgruntled, because they could say, well, hang on a minute, I went to a Wrexham school, I'm a Wrexham person, it's a Wrexham company, why don't I have the job? And as I say to the young people, Total Fitness aren't bothered where you're from. They're only bothered what you can do for them. Okay? Now that's the reality that young people have to realize is the situation, that in a competitive world, Singaporeans, Australians, Luxembourgers, they're all connected through this. So the big irony for me is, if we have digitalization and all young people love their connectivity, why is it that the study of communication has dropped off by 50% over the last 10 years? Because if I ask a class of year 9s, how many of you would like to go around the world and see lots of places and meet lots of people? Let me ask this class, who wants to go around the world, see lots of places and meet lots of people? Hands up. Okay. And then consequently, that's what you'd like to do. Why aren't you adding in the communication to your profile so that you can go and attack the world in a bigger way? Okay, so that's my kind of standpoint. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, first of all, a very quick review of how I started out in life. And how I started out in life was, as Luke mentioned, as a jockey. And when I was a little lad, growing up in the inner city of Bristol, and I saw racing on the telly, I said to my mum and dad when I was 12 years of age, Mum, I'm going to be a jockey. And they said, well, that's great, Tim, seeing as you've never been on a horse. There are no fields or gymkhanas or pony clubs around here, so how are you going to do that? And I say to the year 9s, no Google, no computers. If you're an inner city kid, how are you going to become a jockey? It's a good question. So what I say to them is, I went to the library, and when I went to the library, I researched in Yellow Pages, now there's a concept, I researched in Yellow Pages racehorse trainers. And I wrote a letter to racehorse trainers, and I said, Dear Mr. Racehorse Trainer, I'm 12 years old, I want to be a jockey, I haven't sat on a horse, can I come during my school holidays? and I got 29 letters back. I sent 30 letters. I got 29 letters back saying no, and I got 1 letter back saying yes, and there it is. And that's from 1968. So I show that in the class, and all the children then can say, okay, he's talking, but he's backing it up. So taking action is one of the key things that young people have to do. Having written that letter and got that response, I then went on to ride racehorses all around Europe and rode my own horse called Comedy Turn to finish third at Ascot, rode over hurdles in Switzerland, and rode a big winner in Belgium. And when I went past the champion Belgian jockey and won by 3 or 4 lengths on that horse called Mercutio, the journalist came to me afterwards and said, I would like to, is it possible we can do an interview? And I said, oui, c'est possible, c'est pas problème, en français si vous voulez. And he said, en français? I said, oui, oui, c'est pas un problème. And he was astounded that a British jockey could speak French, because he'd never met a British jockey that can speak French before. And that astounding situation back in 1979 or 1980 shouldn't really be the case in 2016. In 2016, the big question is, why are Europeans so astounded that a British person can speak anything other than English? They're always kind of surprised. So if you go out to the front here in Llandudno and you pick on people and say, Entschuldigen Sie bitte, ein bisschen Deutsch sprechen mit Sie. Sorry? So the communication angle is something that's missing from what we're doing. So my whole point with this little story is that I went off to France to ride racehorses for a year. I rode for a stable near Paris, in Chantilly, and that was my growing international aspect. And when I got to the stable door at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I said, hello, I'm the British guy, I'm Tim, I'm here to work. And they said, ah, bonjour, vous êtes de nouveau. Bon, votre cheval, c'est là, votre prudence, c'est là, nous partons à 6h30. Ça va, ça marche? I said, sorry, I'm the British guy. And they said, alors, désolé, ici vous avez un choix, le choix c'est français ou Arabic? Your choice is French or Arabic. Because in the stables we have Parisians, Algerians, Tunisians, and Moroccans. That's the staff in the stables. No British people. You're the only one. So it was kind of interesting for those French-speaking people because they had a wonderful person in their midst, and they called me roast beef. Yeah, bonjour roast beef. Ça va? So for 6 months they called me roast beef. Of course, after I'd been there for 6 months, I could speak a bit of French. Then it got a little bit more interesting because I could call them things I wanted to call them in French as well. But the result of my 12 months in France was that I ended up being fluent in French, and because I was fluent in French, I was then able to go off around the world. And going off around the world, I was paid by British companies that wanted to sell their products, but they couldn't communicate. And because they couldn't communicate, communication kicked in, and I had French and I had German, and because I had French and I had German, I started to operate in Central Europe, in Austria, Switzerland, places where British people don't go and try and sell stuff. Because mostly British people are trying to sell stuff in Australia, New Zealand, and Canada, because it's easy. But to actually go into Germany, Austria, Switzerland, or Dort with kind of English spoken, is a little bit more complicated. But it gave me an edge and an angle. So that was my sort of background. From there, I went on to have a number of trade shows across Europe. That was one of them in Germany. I used to go to, and that's a young Tim on the right-hand side in the white shirt, much slimmer and fitter back in those days. And what you'll notice with that stand is it's Penn Marketing International Limited, but there isn't a flag. No flag. Okay, so what was interesting about that particular stand and that particular situation was that I could have gone with the British contingent and had a cheaper floor space and been in the British pavilion, but I chose not to go with the British. I chose to go independently and just be an international operation. So what would happen would be that we would have a gentleman, for example, that would come to the front of the stand, and he would stand and he would say, he'd look up and he'd say, where are you from? And I'd say, where are you from? My name is Sven, I'm from Sweden. And I'd say, Sven, welcome, come and have a cup of coffee. And this is Mia, and Mia speaks Swedish, Norwegian, and Finnish, and she will take care of all your questions. So rather than going out to the world and saying, I'm British, this is the Union Jack, this is how we do things. By going out as an international company and having no particular identity, it meant that I could talk to everybody. And as I say to the year nines, how do you think Sven felt when he was able to come onto our stand and talk in Swedish? Think he felt good? Yeah, absolutely. Now, when Sven went away, and you're welcome to have a look at this after this little talk, he would go away with our 1981 price list. It's amazing how I got all these old things. For those of you that got old archived things, you'll never know when they're going to come in useful in the future, because this is 1929, 35 years of age, this price list, and it's the only one which exists. Okay, so I got it laminated. Now, when Sven walked away, he would walk away with a price list in 4 languages and 3 currencies. French, German, Swedish, English, Deutschmarks, which used to be the currency of Germany, dollars and pounds. And I say, Sven, thank you very much indeed for coming to visit us. Here's our price list. So Sven went away with a price list which reflected the fact that we were open for business. Is that the name of your organization, Luke? Open for? Yeah, open for? What's your organization called? What was your first slide? What did it say? Open for? Yes, that's right. Open for international work, yeah? So this is a sort of an example, if you like, a 35-year-old example of just being open for business and being open to how other people are thinking. Now, the map that I was talking to you about, that I wanted to show you, Donald Trump's been elected. Oh la la. Oh la la. Oh la la. Who cares? It's not going to make the slightest bit of difference to you lot, because you lot are going to plot your course of action regardless of politicians. Okay. By the way, on the Brexit issue, which I find kind of interesting, I had several French teachers in tears the day after the Brexit vote, crying and saying everything is finished, the whole world's going to collapse. And I said to them, hey guys, don't worry about it. It's going to take 2 to 10 years to extract ourselves. And what you have to understand is that politicians come and go. So as I say to year nines, when you went on your summer holidays this year, David Cameron was the Prime Minister. Halfway through your holidays, David Cameron wasn't the Prime Minister. And when you came back to school, he was no longer an MP. He's history. Okay? So these politicians come and go. These political situations come and go. But you, as individuals, will be able to plot your course of action exactly as you want to plot it, regardless of the politicians. Okay? What I say to the young people is, if you come up with a brand new product, if you come up with a brand new set of keys, and you think this set of keys is a wonderful product, and you've created this product in Llandudno, and you have a key maker in Llandudno, if you want to go and show the Germans and the French and the Italians this fantastic key, all you've got to do is jump on a plane from Manchester, fly to Berlin, and go and chat to them about it. And if they like it, they're going to buy it, whether we're in the European Union or not. Okay? Whether we're in the European Union or not, the world is still going to be functioning. And that's my message to young people that say, oh, Brexit's happened. We don't need to use languages now because we're no longer part of Europe. Well, obviously, that's a falsehood. Okay? So remember that bit as well. Now, my map, as we have a look at it, I always say to the young people, so where is Britain on this map, guys? And they say, it's in the middle, sir. I say, do you think Britain's in the middle of the world? If you're a British map maker or the British government, you probably think it is. But of course, because you're all bright and go to lovely schools, you know that the world is not flat, but it's round. When we have a look at my Japanese friend's map, it's going to be interesting to see where they put themselves. Okay? So that's the world I've been traveling around for 35 years. That's what it looks like. After we've had a little conversation about that, I then go to the map of the world they're going to be inhabiting for the next 30 to 40 years of their working lives. And one of the interesting questions to year nines is, how many people here think they might pick the wrong GCSE options and ruin the rest of their lives? And you'll be surprised how many year nines think that's what's going to happen. I'm going to pick the wrong option, sir, and I'm going to be miserable. Yeah? Latest government statistics in Wales is that if you were born in 2002, 2003, average number of jobs that you're going to have going forward is 10. The average number of jobs or businesses you will have in your lifetimes is going to be 10. And who knows where technology is going to go. So you can't make a mistake with your GCSEs, you can't make a mistake with your A-levels. Basically, all you're going to do is start off with your GCSEs and A-levels and then develop things from there. Okay? But what's interesting is what David Willits calls the great facilitating subjects. Great facilitating subjects that you can apply to all sorts of careers, whether it's engineering, medicine, hair and beauty, carpentry, whatever it is you're going to be doing. The idea of applying an international flavor to yourself, in my view, by becoming a communicator, is a powerful aspect. So we've talked about digitalization, we've talked about communication, and for those people that don't know what globalization is, I have a fabulous map. So just pay attention to that map there for just a minute, just take it in. And now what we're going to do is we're going to have a look. And Luke, I'm so impressed the technology is working. This is fabulous. I'm now going to show you a map of the world that we use, that I use when I'm out talking to young people in year 9. And what we see is we see lots of dotted lines. And what I say to the young people about the dotted lines is, if your learning style is not to look at words and letters and numbers on black and white paper, then this is going to be great for you because it's all in color. And all you've got to do is follow the dotted lines, forget everything else. Now, the first thing I say to them is, and I normally pick on somebody in the audience, who wants to come and show me where Britain is on this map? And they say, is it that little grey blob, sir, on the left-hand side, stuck out there in the Atlantic Ocean? I say, what do you mean this little bit here? Isn't that interesting that when the Japanese do a map, they don't have Britain in the middle, they have Japan in the middle, because everyone thinks they're in the middle of the world. As I say, it's an interesting psychological thing, that, because once you realize and you say, okay, everyone thinks they're the center of the world, but we're all working on the same planet which goes round the sun, then we can maybe look a bit more open towards what's going on as opposed to seeing ourselves as the center. Now, if you look at the red dotted lines, that is the trading and economic relationship and partnerships between Colombia, Chile, Mexico, and Peru, where they all speak Spanish, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, America, the ASEAN countries, which are Singapore, and Japan. Okay? Whether we're in the European Union or out of the European Union, that block of cooperation and collaboration is not going away. Okay? If we look at the yellow dotted lines, we have South Korea, China, Japan, India, Australia, New Zealand. Notice the Japanese are in both because the Japanese love to collaborate. They're an island people. They love to sell their technology. They love to sell their products around the world. So, hey, if there's a trade association going on, we're going to join it. Then you have enemies like Japan and China that have been enemies for 500 years that are now collaborating on trade and economic growth and university exchanges because they know that the only way that they're going to become rich and stay rich is to work with others. So we have this fantastic thing in the middle. Then we have this green trading bloc. And then we have the conversation that's going on at the moment between America, God bless America, and the European Union, the blue dotted line. And that is yet to be resolved. But if you are a young person in 2016 and you've embraced digitalization, okay, and you're looking at the wider context of what you're going to be when you go into the world of work, that's the world you're going to be working in. Okay, it's a world connected through all sorts of things, including university exchanges, trade organizations, Erasmus program, economic development, etc., etc., etc. All these fancy little names all reflect the fact that they're working towards basically working together. So that map of the world, from my perspective, is very, very powerful. Because first of all, it shows that Britain isn't quite as significant as we may think we are, okay? Secondly, that if you are a young person that's taken Spanish and French A-level and you want to be an engineer, currently, if you look at engineering jobs in Cardiff, the engineering jobs want an engineering degree plus French, German desirable. Okay? And French and German is desirable because if you're going to be an engineer, there are not loads and loads of engineering projects going on in Abergavenny. Okay? If you're a Cardiff-based engineering company, your projects are worldwide. So you want to be an engineer with the communication angle. So this is the thing I keep on mentioning, is just because it isn't good enough anymore just to have an engineering degree. It used to be, 50 years ago, 4% of the population went to university. 4%. So engineers with degrees were few and far between. Now we have 50% of the population, nearly, goes to university. So there's hundreds of people wandering around with an engineering degree. And unfortunately, when they start to look at the world of work, they're going to discover that they need to have the engineering degree plus something else to help them stand out from the crowd. Okay? So hopefully that map, if you haven't seen that before, is just something that you can plug into your thinking to know that regardless of what politicians are doing, the world's still going to go around the sun, and the rest of the world and lots of the world are all working together. So collaboration is going to be a key point.